10 years passed like a slow breath. Taewon Lee wiped sweat from his forehead as he bent over the complex machine. The air in the lunar lab was cool, but the work made him hot. As chief engineer of Project Sunforge, he had spent the last decade building something no human had ever made before. "Is it ready?" asked a voice behind him. Taewon turned to see Ha-Eun Choi, the project director. Her hair now had streaks of gray. 10 years of secret work had aged them all. "Almost," he said. "The stellar compression device is stable. The test runs show it can create focused gravity fields strong enough to affect a star's fusion process." Ha-Eun nodded and looked at the device. It didn't seem impressive, just a metal sphere about 1 meter across, with strange patterns on its surface. But inside was technology that could change the fate of humanity. "The small-scale tests worked well," Taewon continued. "We've successfully used it on 3 uninhabited star systems. We can make a star pulse dim, or even burn brighter for a short time." "And the Valtharians still don't know?" Ha-Eun asked. "No. We were careful to choose test sites far from their patrol routes." Ha-Eun smiled. "Good. Admiral Park will be pleased." On the bridge of the ECV Defiance, Admiral Do-hyun Park watched the stars. Once he had been just a captain. Now he commanded Earth's entire defense fleet. The years had been busy. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Luna Base," said his communications officer. "Put it through," Do-hyun said. Ha-Eun's face appeared on screen. "The device is ready, Admiral. Taewon has completed the final calibrations." Do-hyun felt his heart beat faster but kept his face calm. "Excellent. And our ships?" "The new shields and engines have been installed on all vessels in the fleet. The Valtharians still believe we're using old technology." "They think we're still playing with toys," Do-hyun said with a small smile. "Has there been any change in their attitude toward us?" Ha-Eun shook her head. "No. Their last message called us clever apes who should be happy with one world. They still block all attempts to expand beyond our solar system." "Then it's time to show them who we really are," Do-hyun said. "Prepare the diplomatic vessel. We'll send our message tomorrow." After Ha-Eun's image faded, Do-hyun turned to his second-in-command. "Get me Jisoo," he said. Minutes later, Jisoo Kim appeared on screen. 10 years ago, she had been a young science officer. Now she was the head of Earth's intelligence division. "Admiral," she greeted him with a nod. "I assume Project Sunforge is ready?" "Yes." "What's the current situation with the Valtharians?" Jisoo pulled up data on her screen. "They remain overconfident. They've actually reduced their patrols near our system in the past year. They believe we've accepted our place in their order." "And the target?" "Their home star is still the best choice," Jisoo said. "They call it the Eternal Flame. It's a blue supergiant, very stable. Their entire culture views it as sacred, proof of their superiority in the galaxy." Do-hyun nodded. Slowly. "The perfect place to make our point." "There's something else," Jisoo added. "The Valtharians have approved a meeting with our diplomatic team. Captain Sun-ho Kang will lead the mission." "Sun-ho is a good choice," Do-hyun said. "Who's the ambassador?" "Min Ji-yoon. She's new, but very skilled. Most importantly, she has a calm mind. She won't show fear or anger no matter what the Valtharians say." "Good. We'll need that," Do-hyun said. "The demonstration must be perfect. We're not starting a war. We're ending one before it begins." On Earth, in the Global Council chamber, President Jin-ho Seo addressed the world leaders. Unlike his predecessor Song-yi Kang, who had started Project Sunforge, Jin-ho had never been sure about the plan. But now the time for doubt was over. "Tomorrow, we change our place in the galaxy," he said. "For 10 years, the Valtharians have kept us confined to our solar system. For 10 years, they have called us apes. Tomorrow, we show them who humans really are." The room was quiet. Everyone knew what was at stake. "Admiral Park's fleet is ready," Jin-ho continued. "The stellar compression devices have been tested and proven effective. 5 unmanned ships will position themselves around the Valtharian home star. When Ambassador Yoon gives the signal, they will activate the devices. What exactly will happen to their star, asked one council member. It will visibly change, pulse and flicker, for exactly 1 Earth day. Then we will restore it to normal. We could do more, but this is not about destruction. It's about showing what we can do. And if they attack us? Asked another. Admiral Park's fleet has shields and weapons far beyond what the Valtharians believe we can build. They will not win a fight. But we don't want a fight. We want respect. Jin-Ho looked around the room. 10 years ago, we had a choice, accept being called apes or prove the Valtharians wrong. We chose to advance, to innovate, to show the galaxy what humans can do when challenged. He raised his hand in a salute. Tomorrow, we take our place among the stars. Aboard the diplomatic vessel Harbinger, Captain Sun-Ho Kang checked the systems one last time. His ship was small but elegant, designed to look less advanced than it actually was. The Valtharians would see what humans wanted them to see. Ambassador Min Ji-yoon sat beside him reviewing her notes. At 35, she was young for such an important mission, but her calm face showed no signs of stress. Are you ready, Ambassador? Sun-Ho asked. Min-ji nodded. I've been preparing for this meeting my whole career, though I never imagined it would be quite like this. Having second thoughts? No, Min-ji said firmly. The Valtharians need to understand that humans cannot be dismissed or contained. We've tried diplomacy for 10 years. They've rejected every offer of friendship. Now we speak in a language they can't ignore. Sun-Ho looked at the star map. The 5 unmanned ships were already in position around the Valtharian sun, hiding behind moons or in orbit paths where they wouldn't be detected. Each carried one of Taiwan's stellar compression devices. We'll reach the Valtharian homeworld in 6 hours, Sun-Ho said. Try to get some rest before then. But Min-ji shook her head. I'll rest after we make history. In his quarters aboard the Defiance, Admiral Do-hyun Park looked at an old photo. It showed him and his crew from the Resilience, 10 years younger, standing proud in their uniforms. Before they knew about the Valtharians, before they were called apes, his communication device beeped. Admiral, the unmanned ships report all systems ready. The stellar compression devices are functioning perfectly. They await your order. Thank you, Do-hyun said. Tell them to stand by. Ambassador Yoon will give the signal when she's face-to-face with the Valtharian High Council. He put the photo away and stood up straight. In just a few hours, the galaxy would change. Humans would no longer be seen as apes. They would be known as the species that could unmake a sun, and hopefully, that would be enough to earn them respect without requiring them to use that power for real. Do-hyun closed his eyes and whispered, Let's hope they're smart enough to understand what we're really saying. The Valtharian High Council chamber was the most beautiful room Captain Sun-Ho Kang had ever seen. The walls were made of a crystal-like material that caught the light from the giant blue star that burned outside. The star they called the Eternal Flame. Sun-Ho stood behind Ambassador Min Ji-yoon as she faced the 7 members of the Valtharian High Council. These were the oldest and most powerful Valtharians, their rocky skin showing patterns that came only with centuries of life. Head Counselor Valthox looked down at Min-ji from a raised platform. Human Ambassador, we have allowed this meeting as a courtesy, though we fail to see what more there is to discuss. Min-ji bowed slightly. Thank you for seeing us, honored counselors. Earth wishes to once again ask for the right to expand beyond our solar system. A sound like stones rubbing together filled the room as the Valtharians made their version of laughter. We have been over this many times, said Valthox. Your kind is not ready. Perhaps in another century, we might reconsider. Min-ji's face showed no emotion. Sun-Ho admired her control. They had planned for this response. Honored counselors, Min-ji said calmly, humans have made great progress in the decades since our first contact. We believe we have earned the right to join the galactic community as equals. Progress? Said another counselor, its 3 eyes blinking in sequence. You still fight among yourselves. Your technology is primitive. Your lives are too short to understand the responsibilities of space travel. Min-ji nodded as if she agreed. It's true that humans live short lives compared to Valtharians, and it's true that our history has been marked by conflict. But these very things have shaped us in ways you may not understand. Sun Ho watched the counselors closely. They were listening, but with the patience of beings who lived for centuries. They did not expect anything to change today. They were wrong. For 10 years, Minji continued, you have called us apes. You have denied us the stars. You have told us to wait until we are ready. Today we will show you that humans are not what you think we are. The counselors shifted slightly, the first sign of interest they had shown. What could you possibly show us that we have not seen before? Asked Valthox. Minji smiled slightly. Please, direct your attention to your son. In the darkness of space, 5 unmanned human ships floated in a perfect pentagon around the blue supergiant star. Each ship was small and had been designed to avoid Valtharian detection. Each carried one of Tae-Wan Lee's stellar compression devices. In Earth's lunar command center, Tae-Wan watched the screens with Ha-Un Choi at his side. They could see the ships and the massive star between them. Ambassador Yoon has given the signal, said a technician. The Valtharian Council is watching. Tae-Wan took a deep breath. 10 years of work came down to this moment. Activate the devices, he ordered. His fingers moved over the control panel. From Earth, he sent the code that would start the process. Each of the 5 ships powered up its device. Invisible fields of focused gravity reached out, touching the surface of the star. Compression field stable, reported a technician. Beginning phase 1. On the screens, the blue supergiant star began to change. Its steady light flickered. Ripples moved across its surface like waves on water. It's working, Ha-Un whispered. Tae-Wan nodded, his eyes fixed on the readings. The star's outer layers are responding exactly as calculated. The fusion rate is under our control. The star, which had burned steadily for billions of years, now pulsed with a new rhythm. A rhythm set by human hands. In the Valtharian Council chamber, silence fell as all eyes turned to the huge windows. The blue light that had always filled the room with steady brightness now flickered and wavered. What is happening? Demanded Valthox, rising from his seat. Outside, the great star that the Valtharians worshipped was changing. It pulsed like a beating heart. The eternal, unchanging flame that formed the center of Valtharian religion and science was dancing to a human tune. Minji stood calmly in the center of the shocked council. We have altered the fusion rate of your sun, she explained. It will continue to fluctuate in this manner for exactly 1 Earth day. Then we will return it to normal. The counselors stared at her in disbelief. Impossible, whispered one. No species has ever controlled a star. Until now, Minji replied. Sun Ho watched as the Valtharians struggled to understand. Their entire civilization was built on the stability of their sun. It was their god, their measure of time, their proof that the universe followed unchanging rules. And now humans had made it dance. What have you done? Asked Valthox, his voice hollow with shock. We have shown you what humans are capable of, Minji said. We could, if we wished, compress your star until it collapsed. Or we could accelerate its fusion until it exploded in a supernova. We chose to do neither. The council chamber erupted. In shouts and movement, guards rushed in, weapons raised. Sun Ho tensed, ready to protect Minji, but she raised a hand to stop him. There is no need for violence, she said loudly, her voice cutting through the chaos. We come in peace. This demonstration is not an attack. Slowly the room quieted. The counselors huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. The blue light from the window continued to pulse and flicker, casting strange shadows across the crystal walls. Finally, Valthox turned back to Minji. Why? He asked simply. Why show us this power? For 10 years you have judged humans by your standards, Minji answered. You saw our short lives as a weakness. You didn't understand that when humans face limits, we don't accept them. We break them. She stepped forward, looking up at the much taller Valtharian. You gave us a choice. Accept being called apes and Wait centuries for your approval, or prove we deserve respect now. We chose the second path. By threatening our very son? Another counselor asked, its voice shaking. No. Minji shook her head. By showing you that humans cannot be measured by Valtharian standards. We advance differently than you. What takes your kind centuries may take us decades. The flickering blue light played across her face as she continued. We do not want war. We do not want to harm your people or your star. But we will not be contained. We will not be dismissed. We will not be called apes. Aboard the Defiance, Admiral Do-hyun Park received the first reports from Captain Sun-ho. The demonstration was working. The Valtharians were shocked but had not responded with violence. Should we move the fleet closer, Admiral? Asked his second-in-command. Do-hyun considered the question. No. Keep our position at the edge of the system. We're not here to threaten, only to protect our people if needed. And the unmanned ships controlling the star? They will continue the demonstration for exactly 1 day, as planned. Then they will restore the star to normal and withdraw. Do-hyun looked at the image of the pulsing blue star on his screen. Humans had done what no species had done before. They had reached out and touched a sun, made it obey their will. Do you think they understand now? Asked his officer. Do-hyun nodded slowly. I think they're beginning to. The Valtharians believe in slow change, in gradual evolution. We just showed them something they thought impossible. He turned away from the screen. Now we wait. For the first time in 10 years, the Valtharians will see humans as we truly are. Not as apes, not as children, but as equals worthy of respect. The blue light of the altered star filled the bridge, pulsing with the new rhythm set by human hands. The rhythm of a species that refused to be underestimated. The stars seemed colder today. Captain Do-hyun Park stood tall on the bridge of the Earth Coalition vessel Resilience, his eyes fixed on the main screen. After 3 weeks of waiting, the alien message had finally been decoded. The crew fell silent as the words appeared. Primitive apes, the message read. Your kind is not ready for the stars. Go back to your home system. Stay there until you learn to be less wild. Do-hyun's hands tightened into fists. He had hoped for a welcome, or at least respect. Not this. They can't talk to us like that, said Officer Han, his voice tight with anger. They just did, Do-hyun replied. He turned to face his crew. 20 men and women looked back at him, their faces showing shock and hurt. Jisoo, what do we know about these aliens? Science Officer Jisoo Kim nodded and stepped forward. She was the youngest on the bridge, but one of the smartest humans alive. Her fingers moved quickly over her screen. They call themselves the Valtharians, she said. From what I can tell, they're not made of carbon like us. They're silicon-based, life forms. They live much longer than humans do, maybe 500 years or more. That might explain why they look down on us, Do-hyun said. To them, we must seem like children. The Resilience had been sent to make Earth's first official contact with alien life. Humans had only begun traveling beyond their solar system 30 years ago. The discovery of faster-than-light travel had opened the stars to them, but it seemed the galaxy was already claimed. What do we do now, Captain? Asked Tae-won Lee, the ship's engineer. His dark eyes were worried. Do-hyun took a deep breath. We follow our orders. We try to talk to them again. We show them humans are better than they think. 3 days later, the Valtharian ship appeared. It was huge, at least 5 times the size of the Resilience. Its shape reminded Do-hyun of a giant dragonfly made of metal that shone like gold. They're hailing us, said Communications Officer Min, her voice steady despite her nerves. On screen, Do-hyun ordered. The alien that appeared looked nothing like a human. It had 6 limbs and skin that seemed hard like rock. Its head was pointed with 3 eyes set in a triangle. When it spoke, its mouth moved in strange ways. Why are you still here, apes? The universal translator converted its clicks and hisses into words. Did you not understand our message? Do-hyun stepped forward. I am Captain Do-hyun Park of Earth. We understood your message, but we disagree with it. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. The Valtharian made a sound that the translator didn't catch. It might have been a laugh. Friendship? With creatures who live and die in a breath? Your kind has barely learned to leave your planet. You fight among yourselves, you destroy your own homeworld, and now you want to join the galactic community? We have changed, Do-hyun said. Earth is united now. We have fixed many of our past mistakes. We want to learn from more advanced species like yours. Learn from us? The alien's middle eye blinked, slowly. Perhaps in a few hundred years you might be ready for the simplest lessons. Until then, you will stay in your own system. This area of space is under Valtharian protection. It is not for apes. The screen went black. 1 month later, back on Earth, Do-hyun stood before the Global Council. The great meeting hall in New Geneva was filled with the leaders of humanity. They had all read his report, but they wanted to hear from him directly. So they refused to speak with us as equals, said President Song-yi Kang, her face grim. They block our ships from traveling to nearby star systems. Yes, Madam President, Do-hyun replied. They have faster ships and stronger weapons. They call themselves protectors of this sector of space. They see us as primitive, not ready. And what do you think, Captain? Asked General Ju Won-yoon, the head of Earth's defense forces. Do-hyun chose his words carefully. I think they're wrong about us. But fighting them would be a mistake. They're too powerful. Jisoo Kim, who had come with him to the meeting, raised her hand to speak. The president nodded at her. The Valtharians are an old species, Jisoo said. They move slowly. They plan in terms of centuries. They expect us to develop at their pace, but that's not how humans work. Explain, said the president. When humans face a challenge, we don't wait. We innovate. We find solutions. The Valtharians think it should take us hundreds of years to reach their level. But I believe we can do it much faster, especially if we have to. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. What are you suggesting? Asked Dr. Ha-Eun Choi, the science director. We send more diplomatic missions, Jisoo said. We show respect. We act peaceful. But behind the scenes, we push our technology forward faster than ever before. We focus on areas the Valtharians think are beyond us. Like what? Asked the general. Jisoo looked at her notes. From what we can tell, the Valtharians have amazing ship technology and weapons, but they don't seem to have advanced as far in some other areas. Specifically, they don't appear to have technology that can affect stars. Do-hyun looked at her with surprise. You mean stellar engineering? That's theoretical even for us. Yes, Jisoo nodded. But our scientists have been making progress. The Valtharians live much longer than us, but that makes them slower to try new ideas. They're careful. We need to use our creativity and willingness to take risks. The president leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing, Officer Kim? Oh, project to develop technology that can manipulate stars, Jisoo said simply. If we succeed, the Valtharians will have to see us differently. The room broke into loud discussion. Some leaders thought the idea was crazy. Others were excited. Do-hyun watched as Jisoo stood firm, answering questions calmly. Finally, the president raised her hand for silence. The Valtharians have made it clear they see us as lesser beings, she said. They've blocked our growth into space. We have two choices: accept their limits or prove them wrong. She looked around the room, her eyes determined. I propose we create a new secret project. We will continue diplomatic efforts with the Valtharians. We will seem to accept their restrictions for now. But meanwhile, our best minds will work on technology that even the Valtharians don't have. What shall we call this project? Asked Dr. Choi. The president thought for a moment. Project Sunforge, she said. Because we're going to learn how to shape stars. Do-hyun felt a shiver run down his back. The path ahead would not be easy, but for the first time since reading that alien message, he felt hope. Humans had been called apes, but apes who could unmake suns would not be ignored. 3 days later, in a secret facility built deep under the lunar surface, Do-hyun watched as Jisoo and Dr. Choi began assembling their team. "How long do you think this will take?" he asked. Jisoo looked up from her screens. 10 years if we're lucky. The science is sound, but the engineering will be hard." 10 years, Do-hyun repeated. "The Valtharians would expect it to take us centuries." "Then they'll be surprised," said Dr. Choi with a small smile. "Their mistake is thinking we're just like them, only younger." "And what are we really?" Do-hyun asked. Jisoo's eyes gleamed. "We're human. We don't wait for time to make us better. We make ourselves better." As Do-hyun left the moon base to return to his ship, he looked up at the distant sun. Soon, he thought, very soon, the stars would not seem so cold. The Valtharian homeworld hung in space like a jewel. From orbit, its cities glowed with golden light. But the planet was not peaceful anymore. 3 days had passed since humans had made the Valtharian sun flicker. 3 days since Ambassador Minji had delivered Earth's message. 3 days of chaos for a civilization that had never known fear. Admiral Do-hyun Park stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the scene below. His fleet of 20 ships had arrived at the edge of the Valtharian system yesterday. They had come not to attack, but to protect Earth's interests if things went wrong. "Status report," Do-hyun said. His second-in-command, Captain Jun Seo, looked up from his screen. "Their fleet remains in defensive positions around their main worlds. No aggressive moves yet. They seem confused." As expected, Do-hyun nodded. "Their entire society was built on the idea that their sun was eternal and unchanging. We just proved them wrong." "Sir, incoming transmission from the Valtharian High Command," said the communications officer. "Put it through," Do-hyun ordered. Main screen lit up to show a Valtharian military leader. Its hard, rocky skin looked duller than Do-hyun remembered. Its 3 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress according to Jisoo's research. "Admiral Park," the alien said, its voice translated into flat human words. "Your presence here is concerning." Do-hyun kept his face neutral. "We come in peace, Commander. Our ships are here only to ensure the safety of our diplomatic team." "Safety?" The Valtharian made a clicking sound that the translator couldn't handle. "You control our sun. You could destroy our entire system. And you speak of safety?" "We demonstrated our technology to make a point," Do-hyun said calmly. "Not to threaten. The stellar manipulation has ended. Your sun is stable again. For now," the Valtharian said. There was a new tone in its voice that Do-hyun had never heard from their kind before. Respect mixed with fear. "Supreme Leader Valthax has requested a meeting with your highest authority," the commander continued. "Will you agree?" Do-hyun nodded. "President Jin-ho is already on his way. He will meet with Valthax in 3 days at the neutral location we've suggested." The Valtharian commander seemed to hesitate. "You have changed everything, Admiral. In all our history, no species has ever. We did not believe it was possible." "That was your mistake," Do-hyun said simply. "You called us apes. You judged us by your standards. You didn't understand what makes humans different." "And what is that?" the Valtharian asked. "When you push us, we don't wait centuries to respond. We act now." Jin-ho Kang sat in a small room watching recordings of Valtharian behavior. As Earth's top xenopsychologist, he had been studying the aliens for years. Now his work was more important than ever. Jisoo Kim entered the room. "How are they reacting?" she asked. Jin-ho paused the video. "Exactly as I predicted. First shock, and fear. Now they're trying to understand how they could have been so wrong about us." "Will they attack?" Jisoo asked. Jin-ho shook his head. "No. The Valtharians are logical beings. They know they can't win against a species that can control stars. But they're struggling with something more basic. Their entire worldview has collapsed." Jisoo sat down across from him. "Explain." The Valtharians believed they were the most advanced species in this part of the galaxy. They thought their evolutionary path, living for centuries, moving slowly, planning for the long term, was superior. They saw humans as primitive because we live short, fast lives. But our short lives push us to innovate quickly, Jisoo said. Exactly, Jinho nodded. What takes them a century, we do in a decade. They're having to rethink everything they believed about evolution and progress. So what will they do now? Jinho smiled slightly. They'll try to understand us. They'll want to learn how we advance so quickly, and most importantly, they'll want to make sure we never have a reason to use our stellar technology against them. On a small, airless moon that orbited a gas giant in a neutral star system, 2 ships landed half a kilometer apart. One bore the marks of Earth. The other carried the symbols of the Valtharian Empire. Inside a dome that had been built for this meeting, President Jinho Seo waited calmly. His security team stood at a respectful distance. The air was Earth normal, but the dome could adjust to Valtharian needs when they arrived. The door on the far side slid open. Supreme Leader Valthax entered, followed by 2 advisors. The Valtharian leader was larger than others of its kind, with skin that shimmered with gold and green patterns. Its middle eye was larger than the other 2, a sign of high rank in their society. President Jinho, Valthax said, bowing slightly, a human gesture it must have learned for this meeting. Supreme Leader Valthax, Jinho returned the bow. Thank you for agreeing to meet. They sat at a table designed to accommodate both species. For a moment, neither spoke. Your demonstration was effective, Valthax finally said. No species has ever manipulated a star before. We did not believe it was possible. Many things are possible when survival is at stake, Jinho replied. Valthax's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. You were not fighting for survival. We never threatened to destroy your world. You threatened our future, Jinho said. You blocked our growth. You called us primitive. You tried to keep us confined to one small system. For humans, that is a kind of death. The Valtharian leader was quiet for a moment, thinking. How did you advance so quickly? Our studies showed your technology was centuries away from such abilities. Jinho smiled. Your studies were based on your own history. Valtharians take the long view. You live for centuries. You plan in terms of generations. Humans are different. We live short lives. We don't have time to wait. And this drives your innovation? Yes, but there was something else. Jinho leaned forward. You challenged us. You called us apes and threatened our expansion. Nothing makes humans work harder than being told we can't do something. Valthax made a sound that might have been a laugh. So by trying to contain you, we pushed you to develop faster? Exactly. The Valtharian leader's middle eye focused on Jinho. What do you want now, humans? Revenge, territory, our technology? Jinho shook his head. We want what we always wanted, to join the galactic community as equals, to explore, to learn, to grow. We never wanted to threaten your people. Yet you now hold the power to destroy our sun. We have the power, Jinho agreed, but not the desire. Humans don't want to rule over others. We just refuse to be ruled. Valthax seemed to consider this. It will not be easy. Many Valtharians are afraid now. Our religious leaders are in crisis. Our scientists are questioning everything they believed. Change is never easy, Jinho said, but it is necessary for both our peoples. The Valtharian leader extended one limb across the table, another human gesture it had learned. Then let us begin again, humans, not as superior and inferior species, but as different peoples with different strengths. Jinho took the offered limb carefully. That's all we ever wanted. As they talked through the details of a new relationship between their species, Jinho thought about how far humans had come. From being called apes to sitting as equals with the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy. All because humans had refused to accept the limits others tried to place on them. 5 years passed like a gentle wind. On the observation deck of the Galactic Council Station, Do-hyun Park watched ships come and go. Some were human. Some were Valtharian. Some belonged to other species he was still learning about. Do-hyun was no longer an admiral. He had retired from military service 2 years ago. Now he worked as Earth's representative on the Joint Defense Council, helping species work together instead of against each other. "Still watching the stars, old friend?" asked a voice behind him. Do-hyun turned to see Min Ji-yoon. The former ambassador now led the Interspecies Relations Committee. Her simple black uniform bore the new Earth-Valtharian cooperation emblem, a star held by two different hands. "Old habits," Do-hyun smiled. "Each of those ships would have been stopped 5 years ago if they had humans on board." Min-ji nodded and stood beside him at the window. "Things change. People change. Even Valtharians," Do-hyun agreed, though they'd never admit how much. A large Valtharian ship glided past the window. Its golden hull caught the light of the nearby star. Unlike the old Valtharian ships that looked like dragonflies, this one had elements of human design, more streamlined, more efficient. "Have you heard from Taiwan?" Min-ji asked. "Yes. He and Ha-eun are on their way back from the third star stabilization project. The Valtharians were impressed with how quickly they fixed the radiation problems." Min-ji smiled. "They're still not used to human speed." After the demonstration at the Valtharian sun, Earth had shocked the galaxy again. Instead of using their stellar technology as a weapon, humans had offered to help dying stars. Taiwan and Ha-eun now led the Galactic Stellar Conservation Project, using the same devices that could unmake a sun to extend the life of aging stars. "Sometimes I think about how differently things could have gone," Do-hyun said quietly, "if we had chosen revenge instead of cooperation." "That was never who we are," Min-ji replied. "Humans don't want to rule. We just won't be ruled." Do-hyun nodded. It had become Earth's unofficial motto in space. Jisoo Kim walked through the gardens of the new Earth Embassy on Valthar Prime. 5 years ago, no human had ever set foot on the Valtharian homeworld. Now there was a growing human district in the capital city. Beside her walked Valthax Jr., the child of the supreme leader. Young by Valtharian standards at only 50 years old, it was part of Jisoo's cultural exchange program. "I still don't understand how you think so quickly," the young Valtharian said. Its voice was higher pitched than adult Valtharians, and it had only 2 eyes instead of 3. The third would grow when it reached full adulthood. "And I don't understand how you can remember things from 50 years ago," Jisoo replied with a smile. "Each species has its strengths." They stopped by a pool where fish from both worlds swam together. The blue earth fish darted quickly around the slower golden Valtharian fish. "My parent says that before the sun event, Valtharians thought humans were primitive," Valthax Jr. said. "Is that true?" Jisoo nodded. "They called us apes, simple animals from our world. They thought because we live short lives we couldn't be as advanced as your people. But that was wrong. Yes, our short lives make us work faster, learn faster, change faster. What takes Valtharians a century, we might do in a decade." The young Valtharian blinked its eyes in sequence, a sign of deep thought. "Is that why you're teaching us now, because you learn faster?" "No," Jisoo said. "We're teaching each other. Your people know many things we don't. You have history going back thousands of years. You understand the galaxy in ways we're just beginning to learn." Valthax Jr. seemed pleased by this. "My science teacher says humans and Valtharians together will do greater things than either could alone." Jisoo smiled. "Your teacher is very wise." In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, humans sat among representatives from 12 other species. Today was an important day, the 5th anniversary of what was now called the Sun Treaty. President Song-yi Park, who had taken office 2 years ago, stood at the central podium. Though she was new to her role, she had been part of the original Project Sunforge team as a young scientist. 5 years ago, our peoples stood at a crossroads, she said. Her voice was translated into all the languages of the council. The demonstration at the Valtharian sun could have led to fear, hatred, even war. Instead, it led to understanding. Supreme Leader Valthax rose from its seat. It looked older now, its skin showing signs of age. "The humans taught us an important lesson," it said. Different evolutionary paths can lead to different kinds of advancement. The Valtharian way is not the only way. Songyi nodded respectfully. And we learned that our quick progress brings responsibilities. The power to affect stars must be used with care and wisdom. Together they moved to a covered object in the center of the hall. They each took one side of the cloth that covered it. Today we unveil the symbol of our new partnership, Songyi said. They pulled the cloth away to reveal a beautiful sculpture. It showed a human hand and a Valtharian limb together holding a small star. The star glowed with real light, powered by a tiny version of Taiwan's technology. No longer will any species be judged by how long they live or how quickly they change, Valthak said. Instead, we will be judged by what we create together. Around the base of the sculpture, words were carved in all the languages of the council. Underestimate us at your peril. Respect us and we will reshape the stars together. Later that evening, Do-hyun stood alone on the viewing platform of the council station. The galaxy spread out before him like a map of possibilities. 5 years ago, humans had been trapped in one small system, dismissed as primitive apes. Now they traveled freely, respected by all. His communication device beeped. It was a message. From Taiwan. Star stabilization at HD 45364 complete. System now safe for at least 500,000 years. Heading to next project. Do-hyun smiled. Humans were still moving fast, still pushing boundaries. But now they did it alongside others, not against them. The door behind him opened. Jisoo entered carrying 2 cups of tea. I thought I'd find you here, she said, handing him 1 cup. Just thinking about how far we've come, Do-hyun replied. Jisoo nodded. From being called apes to reshaping stars. Was it worth it? All those years of secret work? The risk we took? Jisoo looked out at the stars. We gained the galaxy. We saved dying stars. We made new friends. Yes, it was worth it. Do-hyun sipped his tea. And the Valtharians? They're learning from us, just as we learn from them. Their children don't call us apes anymore. What do they call us? Jisoo smiled. They have a new word for humans in their language. It translates roughly to the quick ones who touch stars. Do-hyun laughed. I like that better than apes. Together they stood in comfortable silence, watching ships move between worlds that had once been closed to humanity. Beyond them stars shone, not as barriers anymore but as bridges. What's next for us? Do-hyun asked. Jisoo's eyes sparkled. Everything, the whole galaxy. We've only just begun.